I definitely am going to need to figure out a better bathroom situation, Jared, because running to the campground bathrooms at 4 a.m. when you're freezing and just got up because you need to go to the bathroom is not ideal. So I've been thinking about getting, like, they make these little pop-up, like, shower things that you can also use, like, as a bathroom. And then, you
So you're telling me
some type of container in there.
in the middle of the night you were running to the bathrooms when you had to pee?
I mean, I had to get my clothes on and go. Yeah, it was.
So you don't just pee
giant
outside?
pain. I mean, you're not really supposed to just pee outside at campsites. I mean, imagine if everybody did that, how nasty campsites would probably be, right?
Yeah,
So,
what Chad's not mentioning is that I peed outside. I thought that's what you're supposed to do at campsites. Listen, that's part of the reason I even went over there. I was like, well, at least I'll get
just
to pee outside. Yeah.
That's fair.
That's such an interesting camping experience where you constantly have to get up and run to a real bathroom. What's wrong with a lot of people peeing out? Do you think it would start smelling like pee if everyone peed outside all the time?
I mean, probably. I mean, look, some of those campsites, you got a full family with 4 or 5 kids. It's, who knows? I don't know.
I mean,
Jared,
I'm not saying get rid of the bathrooms. I just didn't realize there was like some sort of explicit rule against peeing outside, and I don't think you know that either. I feel like you're just saying that. I
mean, I don't know that, but I think it's just camp courtesy to to just not pee outside.
I don't think that's true. I'm going to disagree with that. I don't think there needs to be that courtesy extended. So we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one.
That's fine by me, Jared. Fine by me.
Gang, 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 go, go, gang, 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 gang. Actually, kind of sounds like
highway to the danger zone.
We're taking a highway home from the danger zone.
Out of the danger zone. Yeah, yeah. Highway avoiding the danger zone, maybe.
Yeah, we're in the express lane.
Right.
We're fully avoiding the danger zone.
I don't know, dude. I'd rather go those country back roads if you want to be really safe.
That's true.
No traffic, all that good stuff. Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here today to talk about traveling safely because we have, or at least I have, the slight inclination that a lot more people are going to be traveling this summer. And many people haven't been traveling in a while, so might be time to brush up on some travel safety tips. As all of you know, if you've listened to this podcast before, I definitely am one that tends to err more on the anxious, cautious / worrisome side. So I'm hoping this will be my episode to shine and give all of you some good safety travel tips, because it's definitely something on my mind. But this podcast would not be possible without my co-host and my good buddy to balance out all of my paranoia and anxiety. So without further ado, my good buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. When Chad eventually, God forbid, dies one day, this episode is going to be in his obituary as one of his greatest works. Because I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, this episode is made for you, dude. You are. I was like, if any episode, this is the episode where Chad could probably talk about travel safety for hours. No notes, no lists.
And I hate to say this, Jared, because I love doing this podcast with you. This is one of the few episodes where I feel like I could probably do this one solo. It wouldn't be any good, but I probably could.
It would be a lot more informative if I wasn't here, that's for sure. You'd be like, oh my God, there was this one time. And, oh my God, I got so nervous that I was about to. But you do make a good point that we are re-entering travel times, and I can certainly see people getting careless, and those people that their part-time job is just like taking advantage of tourists. You could feel them rubbing their hands together, like, oh, let's get this going. The idiots are back out. They're excited and ready to spend money, and they're not even. And they're careless, just how we like them.
Yep. Careless and probably not so cautious either. Because let's be real, Jared. I mean, the majority of people out there who, if they've been following guidelines and stuff properly, they've been stuck at home unless they're an essential worker for a year, more than a year at this point. So, once travel opens up more and once people get out there, I mean, it's like what we talked about quite a few episodes back, that I have a feeling this decade is going to be another roaring 20s.
Oh, yeah.
And people are going to be going buck wild, Jared. For
I'm
lack
ready to
of a
go
better
buck
term.
wild. I'm actually not. That's the funny thing. I like it. I like the idea of going buck wild in theory, of course. Who doesn't? But I'm still a little concerned about just like the rapid rate of reopening that's coming upon us in the next month. And I feel like I'm more in a wait and see camp. You know, it's like let me just wait and see before they shut this down again. You know, let me just wait and see what happens. You know, so but still, I want to go buck wild is what I'm saying. But I want to do it cautiously and safely because I want to come back happy from my buck wild adventures and trips. I don't know if you have any shout outs or anything.
Actually, yes, I do have a special shout out today,
okay.
Jared. I'm glad you mentioned it. This past Saturday, there was a very important record that has been broken. Have you heard about this?
A record that's been broken
In the sports world.
No, I have not heard about this.
If I give you too many clues, it'll give it right away. So, on Saturday of last week, Bayern Munich played SC Freiburg for one of the last Bundesliga games of the season. And there has been a long-standing goals scored in one season record that was set by who they call the Bomber, Gerd Müller, who I think that record he set with 40 goals in one Bundesliga season in 71 or 72. So it's been a long time since his goal has been broken. Mm-hmm. And what's funny is they interviewed Gerd, the one who broke the record or who set the record. And he said, honestly, I thought somebody would have broken it by now. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Because I think in the Bundesliga, they usually have, I think, 33 or 34, maybe 35 games per season, match days per season. So, I mean, you know, you'd have to score at least 4 or 5 goals in probably 1 or 2 of those games, and then almost a goal basically every other game, or a couple goals, you know, for a couple games to even make this possible. And so Lewandowski tied the record with 40 goals on Saturday when they played Freiburg. So I just want to give a big shout out to Robert Lewandowski because this is a record, Jared, that has been unbroken for such a long time. And the craziest thing what complicated this story a little bit more, Jared, is that Lewandowski has been on track to beat the record all season, basically, but then he actually got an injury while playing for Poland. And so he was out for quite a few games. And so then the question was, when will he come back? Will he come back with enough time to still tie or beat the record? And now I believe, if I remember correctly, there's at least 1, maybe even 2 more games this Bundesliga season. So he very well could set the new record at maybe 41, 42, 43 goals.
So he's beat the record, but he can continue to set it.
He's tied the record.
He's tied the record.
He's tied the record.
Gotcha.
40 is the record. He's got 40.
You know, that is surprising that it's taken that long. Because, you know, as far as the way I seem to always picture athletes for the most part is that they're mostly, for the most part, getting better and better, you know, especially in sports like that where it's like, you know, purely sort of physical conquest, you know. It is surprising that it took that long, to be honest with you. And I imagine, I was about to say, I wonder if they score more or less these days. You know, I don't know the answer. But
it's a good question.
Just in general.
Yeah. Well, I would argue, and this isn't based on facts here. This is just my hot take here.
We're just chit-chatting here.
Yeah. I would argue that it's probably more difficult nowadays to score goals just because
everyone's
the
getting
tactics... Exactly.
Not just
the tactics are better. The players are all way fitter probably than they were back then. Although still, if you look at pictures from some of those players back in the 70s, their legs were like tree trunks, bro. I mean, so they were in good shape back then too, but it was just a whole different. I mean, professional sports just weren't at the level that they are now. Like I know at least back in the day,
in general, what we know about our bodies and all that stuff.
Right. Right. What we know about diet, nutrition, recovery time, types of other like workouts or exercises you should be doing. Exactly. But I know way back in the day, like professional baseball players, they used to have other jobs. Like that was more like a summer gig that they would do. So
then they'd go deliver
milk.
milk.
To show you exactly. So it goes to show you how much the field of professional sports has really improved a lot over the years. So anyways, shout out to you, Robert Lewandowski.
For
As a
sure.
Bayern fan, I'm so happy for him, and I think it's great. And so shout out to you, sir.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I was waiting for those ham horns.
I got
I was
him.
waiting.
Don't worry. All right, well, let's get into these untranslatables, dude.
Let's do it. And untranslatables are idioms, proverbs, sayings, axioms that don't always translate on a one-to-one basis into English. Usually, last episode, we did have some exciting camping untranslatables.
Yes.
This week, we will be going back to some of our tried and true untranslatables, which are in a foreign language into English. And I will get us started today, Jared, with a Russian untranslatable, and it is "Bit ne v svoye tarelka." To not be in one's own plate.
To not be in one's own plate. Is that like to be too like self-obsessed?
No.
Or not like self-centered in your own thing, and like I'm just in my own plate, not concerned about
For ours, we would use an animal for our untranslatable.
Okay, that's not helping. I'm gonna be honest with you.
A water animal.
In his own plate, water animal. Something about fish?
Yes.
Plenty of fish in the sea.
No.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry.
A fish.
Fish out of water.
There we go. See, I knew you knew it.
Yeah, if
knew
you give
knew
me
it.
enough
Good
of it,
job.
I'll know it. Sure. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so this basically means to be out of your element, feel uncomfortable, maybe even feel embarrassed. So there you go.
Okay. I have two Russian untranslatables, but unfortunately, it's so weird. The site I went to, for the life of me, I couldn't copy and paste stuff off of it, so I took screenshots. So I wanted to send you the Russian, but I can't, so I'll just have to read it to you.
Okay.
Vaditzanos.
Is it something about a nose?
Very good, very good. To lead someone grabbing at their nose or grabbing them by their nose.
I'm assuming this means to mislead somebody.
It's more than that. Misleading. It's. I'll say that's part of it, but to.
Is it to fool somebody?
There you go. That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
That's perfect. That actually deserves a ham horn, Chad.
Okay.
It's to mislead someone, almost to fool levels.
Okay, I like that. Let me give you. We're gonna keep going with this Russian kick here, Jared.
Da.
Exactly, and this one is zatknut zapoyas, which means to put someone under one's belt or to put under one's belt.
To put under one's belt. Is that like to like insult someone to the point of destruction? You put that dude under his belt.
I like where your head's at, but no. This one, who was that racer you mentioned a couple episodes back?
Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton's teammate.
So you could say that Lewis Hamilton puts him under his belt.
Like to like destroy someone in competition.
Yeah, to surpass someone, to be better than.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, I put this. That actually sounds like something a rapper would say. I keep wanting to say it. I put this N-word under my belt, like that. Keep in my head that's repeatedly where I'm going to, and it sounds like a rap lyric.
Dude, we could produce numerous albums with all the untranslatables that we've got.
What if we made just pure
untranslatable rap album?
Yeah, and we just it's just like the literal English translations are the phrases we use for. That
would be funny.
If we were talented.
Except I can't rap for shit. I can make the beats and the music for you, but I cannot rap for shit.
If you could, here's the deal. if you could make the music and write, you mean write the music?
I mean, I could try to write
If you
the
could
lyrics.
write the lyrics, well, no, I was gonna say I could rap it, but I can't, because what I can do is I can rap in the sense that I'm very good at following along, like recreating what rappers have done. But listen, we don't want to do that. We want to do our own thing.
That's fair.
How it's pronounced? Oh, sorry, I'm I'm reading my notes. My next untranslatable is Russian as well. Da Pizholsta. And speaking of which, did you see? I saw that your buddy graduated.
Oh yeah, shout out to my buddy David for graduating. Speaking of shout outs, that's a big one.
Yeah. So anyway, as paying homage to him, we're doing Russian untranslatables, and my second Russian untranslatable is ni riba ni miasa.
Something about fish.
Yes. Do you know what miasa is?
I don't.
Okay, so you know riba is fish, riba or whatever. How would you say that?
Riba, I think.
Riba. Miasa is meat, just so you know.
Okay.
So ni riba ni miasa. I think you
No
can
fish, no meat.
There you go. Neither fish nor meat.
Neither fish nor meat. That's when you're talking about nothing.
No, that's not what it is.
Something that has no substance.
Very good. Wow. Very good. That's exactly it. So it means that's essentially something that's average, or like has no taste. You know, it's neither fish nor...
It's neither fish nor meat.
We have a friend, Chris Blaker. He knows how to lay down a mean bass line when called upon. And we used to know this guy, and I never. This is a organic untranslatable. He said to me years ago in college that has always stuck with me. He said, "This person," he's like, "This person is like a bowl of plain mashed potatoes." And when he said that, I knew exactly what he meant. He's like, "He's not bad. There's just nothing to him.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing there.
Just bland."
Yeah. It's
Bowl
just,
of mashed. That's funny. I love it. A bowl of mashed potatoes. That's hilarious.
I think that's Chris Blaker's translation of the neither fish nor meat, where it's just
That's
like
fair.
it's just like a bowl of plain mashed potatoes.
That might have to be a new untranslatable, Jared.
Yeah, I mean it
It's
is.
like a
I
bowl
use
of,
it. I
bowl
use
of
it.
plain mashed potatoes. That's a good one. Well, you know, to commemorate my good buddy David and continue our trend, let me give you another Russian untranslatable, Jared.
Okay.
Я тебя покажу, где раки зимуют, which means I will show you where the crawfish spend the winter.
That sounds like a threat that 1920s people would use towards someone, and like
And what
they
would that? And
hold
what
their
would we
fists like
say?
this when they say
What
it.
would we say in English for that threat? You're right.
I mean, just like don't fuck with me. What do you mean? It's like I don't.
I mean,
I'm sure there's some sort of like maybe
it's a
more
specific phrase I'm looking for
nonchalant,
here.
or like some better untranslatable than that you were thinking of. Can you give me I'm gonna punch your lights out.
No, I'm gonna.
Can you give me the untranslatable again? Sorry, I just want to hear the.
Yeah, you're good. I will show you where the lobsters spend the winter, or where the crawfish spend the winter.
Sorry, I just need some context when I'm trying to think about this. I'll show you where the I'll show you who's boss. Is that
Yeah,
it?
I'll give it to you.
Oh, God.
I mean, the one I was looking for was I'll teach you a lesson.
Oh, okay. All right.
I guess we use that more so if we're like, I'm going to teach them a lesson.
Yeah,
You know
I'll
what I
teach
mean?
them a lesson. Yeah, I guess so. That's
Right.
true. I've never said that before in my life. There's never been a moment in my life where I felt like I was going to teach someone a lesson, you know?
Well, you also don't have kids or younger siblings either, do you?
That's true. I mean, I do have. Yeah, that's true. I am the younger sibling, so I mostly what I did was the
Your
terror.
older sister probably was like, "Oh, I'm going to teach Jared
Yeah,
a lesson."
most of what I did was just terrorizing, I believe. So yeah, I don't think I
That's
was
fair.
teaching any lessons back in the day. But we're here to teach some lessons today, Chad, aren't we?
You better believe it. And those lessons today are going to be focused on traveling safely. And I think the best advice I would give just right off the bat, Jared, would be when possible, try to travel with a buddy, travel with a friend, travel with somebody, especially if you're going to a place where you've never been before or if it's a place, I think there's like kind of a checklist of things that I would keep in mind in terms of like travel safety. Like number 1, can you speak the language? Number 2, do you have any local contacts? Because I think for both of those, if you have to say no to both of those, I would highly recommend going with someone, just because just having that extra person there just adds a whole nother layer of safety and security. If you're with a trustworthy person, I guess we should say.
Yeah. Oh, you mean just don't pick up someone off the street and be like, hey, let's go to, I don't know, some random country together.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Don't post on your Facebook, hey, I'm traveling to Honolulu next week. Exactly.
ISO travel buddy.
Or on your Tinder page or whatever.
Nothing sexual. You got to clarify that. That's an interesting one. At first, I sort of turned my nose up to that because that seems sort of overly cautious, I think. And I think I still kind of think that. But I think without even thinking, I sort of do follow that trend. I can't think of any place that I've been to by myself that I didn't have some sort of experience with, So I guess that's fair. And that's, also it made me think of you and I hope this is still intact just because I still plan on going at some point. You and I did say that we would go to South America at some point together. Because that is a place that I would love to go. As I mentioned, there are cheap flights on Spirit to Bogota, Colombia, and I really like the idea of going to South America somewhere. And it's not that it's not safe. It's not that it's super safe. It's just that that's certainly it seems like a big step, And, it really is a step into the unknown language-wise and culture-wise that I certainly am like, yeah, I would prefer that if to go probably with someone the first time. But I still think I would consider going by myself, but that doesn't mean that that's a good idea. Let's be clear.
Right. I would, as much as I love that you're open to traveling places solo, Jared, I would certainly...
You would not
as
feel
your
comfortable?
warrior friend, you would definitely be on my mind for sure. Did you hear the story about the black dude that got killed in Barranquilla a few weeks ago?
Where's that at?
Just Google. If you can probably just Google gringo or black gringo killed in Barranquilla.
Gringo?
Yeah.
That's what they called him?
I don't know what they call it. You could just Google Black American killed in Barranquilla, and you should be able to find it. But he was basically, what it sounds like is he was, I don't know if he was set up or if he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That's in Colombia, okay.
Yeah, it's in Colombia. Well, you mentioned Bogota, which is in Colombia.
I just never heard of Barranquilla, so I didn't know.
I think it's in the very north of Colombia, if I remember correctly. Okay. It's supposed to be pretty beautiful, if I remember correctly.
Not from a cave where you're getting your eyes cut out. I don't know how he died. I just made that up.
Well, no. So it sounds like it was a robbery gone wrong. Which, once again, though, that's actually, Jared, that story is kind of
right. That's my question.
Well, a robbery gone right would be they steal your shit and you're still alive. Yeah, right. A robbery gone wrong would mean that they killed you, and most of the time when people go to rob somebody, killing them is not what they are trying to do.
Barranquilla, just for starters, is very far away from Bogota. But I'll read you some of this story. Let's see if I can. Okay, Timothy Revel Reed had come into town December of last year and was setting up a restaurant with his Colombian partner.
He bought a house too there.
A new fatality left the wave of, and this is recent, isn't it? This article was posted April 24th, 2021. The man, identified as Timothy Reed, according to the first information, was on a 35A street. A street with the Carrera 8. These are street names in the Las Palmas neighborhood when he was approached by two individuals who were mobilizing on a red motorcycle. You never want to be mobilized upon. Did you see the video, by the way, in South Africa of the people in the like the sort of Brink style truck that got robbed as well, and the driver took evasive maneuvers, and it looked like a freaking Fast and Furious movie.
I think I might have seen that video.
And there was like the black dude in the seat with like the assault rifle. He looked a little scared, while the guy driving looked disturbingly calm for being
Right.
shot at and driving.
Well, I guess that's who you want driving
For sure.
though, in that scenario,
For sure,
Jared.
but I was like, this guy
yeah.
seems like he's been waiting for this moment, and he handled it. So the moment was recorded on security cameras. Yeah. Anyway, he was killed. So yeah, I mean, it can certainly happen. I don't know anything about Barranquilla, but that would lead to something that I would say is important for the travel safety, and something that I know you know, Chad, a lot about is do your research.
Yeah. Oh, that's a huge one. I mean, research and preparedness in terms of anything, whether it be travel, camping, learning a foreign language, whatever. I think doing your research and being prepared is super, super crucial. But sometimes, though, too, Jared, I mean, you can do your research till the cows come home, but if you put yourself in compromising positions, if you associate with the wrong people, a lot of that stuff just kind of goes out the window.
Research to know where to go and stuff. When you've been to various places, Czech Republic, China are the most recent ones that you were at for a while. What sort of research?
Indonesia.
Yeah, but you didn't really have any, I'm sure you did research before you went there, but you also didn't really have any choice into going. Like, that was sort of just like, hey, a pandemic's about to happen and you need to leave kind of thing.
Well, and I had a work conference
So
there
it wasn't,
too. So yeah, I had no choice.
it wasn't like you're like, oh, I'm going to Bali, or I need to do a lot of research. You're more like, oh, I'm going to Bali in a week. I guess I should probably look into some things. It was a little bit different sort of like mindset, I think. And when you're going to Czech Republic and China, those were two places where you had, plenty of preparation time beforehand, a lot of time to think about it, a lot of time to make
Probably
sure
too much time.
you had all your ducks in a row. What sort of research did you do? And maybe if you can remember, how did it differ between Czech Republic and China?
So Czech Republic, I'll be honest, I didn't do as much research because I had been there before. I also was in a bordering town to Germany, so I knew, like, if I needed to get somewhere where I could understand the people, I mean, it would have been a very long walk, but I could have theoretically walked to Germany, definitely biked there. I had some friends who would bike across the border to Germany all the time from where we were living. And the other thing was, too, is because I was going with a reputable organization, which is Fulbright, I knew they would take care of us. But I will say that is the wrong mentality to have if you're traveling somewhere. It's a little different, I think, if you move somewhere for work. Not that there aren't dangers or potential problems, going down that avenue. But so with the Czech Republic, I mean, the research I did was just basic phrases in Czech. So how do you say please and thank you, prosím, and děkuji would be our please and thank yous.
Yes. Na zdraví.
Let's see
Cheers.
Yep. I did look up just like the crime rate and like what to expect. And the Czech Republic, actually, Jared, is one of Europe's safest countries. They have one of the lowest.
Jesus
One of the
Christ, we
lowest
get
rates, sorry.
hiccups, yawns, burps, all
I know,
in like
we're going all over
10
the place.
seconds. I've never really looked up a crime rate before, but I feel like I've never gone to a place that I felt to be like, just off of what I generally know, to be hugely dangerous. What are you going to do with that information with crime rates? Are you going to be like, this place is too dangerous, I'm not going to go here?
Well, so with crime rates, it's more so just to get an idea of what types of crimes are most often committed. So for example, one habit that I started in the Czech Republic that I still have not changed to this day.
Smoking cigarettes.
Yes. No. Having 5 beers for lunch. No, I'm just kidding. No. The thing that I've been doing since I moved to the Czech Republic was I keep my wallet in a front pocket. When I was living in the States, I always kept my wallet in my back pocket.
Yeah,
always.
I still do.
And ever since moving to the Czech Republic, and it's not like there were only a few times when people interacted with me where I was kind of like, I don't know you, this feels a little bit shady. Like I told you the story, right, about the guy who, pretty sure I told you this story when I was living in the Czech Republic. I'll just give you a brief cliff notes. I was walking home from school one day, and this guy stopped me and asked me, do you have the time? And so I pull out my phone and I tell him the time.
Which, by the way, classic "you're about to get robbed" line.
Yep. And and yeah, the last thing you want to do as well is pull out your phone, because he could have snatched it and ran, and that would have been that. So anyway, so I tell him the time, and then he says, "Oh, thank you. Let me give you this gift as a thank you for."
What?
And I'm like, "No, it's okay. I don't want it." And he's like, "Please take it." And he gives me this like cologne or perfume, and then he asks me. He says, "Hey, I need to get a train home. Do you have any money on you?" And then I think I didn't give him much. I gave him the equivalent of like $2 US, maybe, if that.
Did it feel like a
once
don't
again,
rob me tax almost? Is that
basically, yeah.
Like, did you feel like you weren't really in a situation where you could comfortably say no, essentially?
I mean, I could have told him no, but here's the thing with some of those people, Jared. If you tell them no, they'll follow you, they'll pester you. I knew it would just be faster
What kind
and
of shoes
easier
did you
for
have
me.
on? Did you think you could outrun them?
I had my like Jordan sneakers
yeah, you
on.
could outrun them.
Maybe, but anyways, I just didn't want to deal with that BS. So I gave him the couple bucks in my pocket, and off I went. But that's the thing is I would say what I learned from that situation is, as sad as it is, just don't help random people.
You know what my move is?
What?
Is headphones. Even if I'm not playing anything and it's like late at night like that, I sort of use the headphones in my head as a cover for like, this is why I don't hear you, and I just keep walking with purpose.
That is good to some extent, Jared, but also...
but it could also...
it can make you a target,
yes.
Especially like dark at night. If they think you don't have headphones on, they could, come up behind you and try to give you a cheap shot or...
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So, that's a good point.
But
listen, either way, you're going to get robbed is what Chad's saying.
Exactly.
There's no way to avoid it.
Exactly. No, but I do think it's important that you want to. It's weird, Jared. There's kind of a balance that you need to find, right? The thing with the headphones is it's great, especially during the daytime if you're just walking somewhere and people won't bug you. Mm-hmm. But there's kind of this balance you want to reach, right? Where you want to be unfriendly enough looking where people don't bug you, but you also don't want to
be too friendly,
look so strange that you look like a target.
Exactly.
Right? Like another thing that I see a lot of travelers get duped is they're going out to the bar and they have a good time, and then there's all sorts of things that can go wrong. So you go out to the bar, you're walking home, you're drunk. People can obviously see you're a very easy target, whether that be rob you, scam you, what have you. I've also heard some horror stories of some guys going abroad to countries to meet the ladies, and I will say this to all the gents listening to today's episode: if you go to a bar or a club or wherever, and this girl that's completely out of your league approaches you, and she seems super interested, and she is being very forward with you, especially talking about some very explicit things, it's most likely a scam. And what happens to a lot of these poor guys is they'll go back to either they'll be dumb enough to take that girl back to their hotel room, and then all their shit gets stolen.
Yeah.
There was this story on, I forget which TV channel it was, but it was basically, the story was about people who had been scammed abroad. And then this one guy was like a private detective who had a lot of experience in South America. And so what happened was, and he spoke fluent Spanish. And so he met this Colombian woman, beautiful girl, obviously go back to the hotel room, and she goes, "Oh, do you have any wine? It'd be so great to have a glass of wine with you." And so he says, "Sure." And this dude had set cameras up all in the room because, it's a sting operation, right? Mm-hmm. And so the guy says, "Sure, let me just run to the restroom to freshen up." And you see the Colombian chick pull out something from her bra and put a couple droplets of whatever in his glass of wine. And then he goes to toast the wine, and then he smells it, and you should have seen the look on her face, because I think she realized that something wasn't quite right. Mm-hmm. And
he didn't
said,
do the classic somehow, "Hey, look over
switch
there,"
and switch them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what ended up happening, Jared, is he ended up not drinking the wine, and then they had a couple people burst into the hotel room and they arrested her. Mm. But for a lot of tourists who are unaware, and you're just drunk and trying to get your excitement fixed for the night, you got to be careful. So, and once again, Jared, I think the key with travel safety is, and now I'm talking about if you're in a full, sober, clear state of mind, go with your gut. Like if something seems sketchy, and if your gut is telling you this just doesn't seem right, just don't do it. I mean, it just, why risk it? I think that's some of the best, honestly, travel advice I could give is that if something feels off, our bodies, the human body is a crazy thing, Jared. And if something feels off to you, and I'm sure you've maybe had some moments where like the hair kind of stands up on the back of your neck, for example, it's your body is giving you signals, get the fuck out of there.
I would say that's, I don't like to compliment myself a lot, but I think that is one of my greatest qualities is my ability to just leave something, whether it's some sort of situation like you're talking about or whether it's some sort of like party, like there's no hesitancy for me to be like, I'm out.
Right. Which is a good place to be mentally, I think.
But I think that's the challenge with sometimes being one of those nice people is you always feel this need to like, oh, but what if this person does need help? Or what if I'm just like, leaving someone in some sort of bad situation? Or, you always are in this sort of like, I need to make sure everything's okay mode. When sometimes you just need to have that flight, just like, my name is Bennett and I'm not in it, something like that. My name's Bennett and I'm not in it. I don't know, something like that, some untranslatable like that. But yeah, getting drunk and getting wasted in foreign lands is a big one, and it's such an easy one too because we've seen it so many times in name your big city that we've been to. You'll see
right,
and the Americans especially are always noticeable because whether sober or drunk, they're loud. We're loud.
Oh, for sure.
And so you're just really putting a target on your back.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the other thing too especially if we want to talk more specifically about Americans traveling abroad, most countries, not all, but most countries, if they see an American and they know you're American, their first assumption is this person has money.
Yeah.
Especially if you do travel in countries where there is a very big discrepancy between, the U.S. currency and the local currency.
Yeah,
right.
There's just like American equals rich, essentially.
Right, and a lot of times, many younger American tourists are far from being rich. Right. I would say probably even middle-aged American tourists. Probably
yeah, but I think if you look at the stuff that even like a not rich American has for the taking, I could see why even ones that aren't quote unquote rich could be mistaken for it because we still have such a strong like consumerism stuff mentality. Even people that aren't rich have stuff, Right.
Well, and see, that's the thing too, is that I think the other thing in terms of staying safe while you travel is you have to really get out of your own headspace. What I mean by this is exactly what you mentioned, Jared, which is, to a lot of Americans, what we have, we just consider it fairly normal, right? But like, for example, I don't know, you go to some places in the world and walking around with an iPhone 11, you already got a target on your back, and so being aware of, what might motivate other people in the country where you're visiting. And the goal of this episode today is not to make people paranoid and not want to travel. We love travel and we want you all to get out there and travel, but you have to be smart. You have to think about things, and really try not to be that foreigner that's too drunk or too flashy or what have you, too loud, that really does put yourself in a bad position. The other thing too, Jared, that I think a lot of Americans get wrong when they travel is we are too nice and too trusting and we share too many details about our travel.
Yeah.
Right? What I mean...
We're talking about Don?
Go ahead. I wasn't talking about Don specifically, but I mean just telling people where you're staying, where you're from, what your job is. You're just giving these people more and more reasons if they wanted to take advantage of you. I mean, if I were to scam somebody and they were telling me, "Oh yeah, I'm staying at this nice 5-star hotel, and I'm here on this 2-week vacation," like, you tell me how long you're going to be there, so I could time it when I wanted to, right? There's so many different things.
Yeah, this is the stuff we're going to see in the next couple days. We're going to be out all day seeing this and seeing that. We stay at this really nice hotel. Have you heard of it? The Four Seasons. It's gorgeous. They have a lovely hotel. We have this gorgeous room on the 10th floor. It is so nice to view from that high up. There's only like 3 or 4 rooms on that floor. Those rooms must be huge.
Right? Exactly. And I get why a lot of Americans, or even travelers, tourists in general, fall for this because you're traveling, you're excited for your vacation. I get it. Look, I get it.
And those scammers are so friendly too. That's what they're best at. Not stealing, but being friendly and getting to know people.
Well, see, and that's the other thing I think a lot of people fail to see when it comes to getting scammed when you're traveling and putting yourself in bad situations is a lot of times if you are going to be scammed by somebody, a lot of times it's more than one person involved, and a lot of times there will be a lot more moving parts than people realize. Like, for example, a friend of mine, they got their wallet stolen while they were on the subway in Paris. And he knew immediately after he felt that his wallet was gone. He was just like, well, like, it's gone.
He just did the flashback on all those people he thought he just made, the new friends he just thought he met.
He didn't.
Okay.
But my whole point with this is that a lot of times, so many of these situations can happen without you even realizing it, right? So, and a lot of this happens too through distraction. So keep your head on a swivel, as they say, if you ever played ice hockey.
I get a little concerned about people that are, too willing to be friendly in foreign countries, like that are like, like even if it's like a group of a couple people that are like super open to like hanging out, a little too open to it. It makes me. There's actually when I was in Berlin with you, I was walking somewhere. You weren't with me at the time. It was some ungodly hour, and I was walking back to it was the night of the karaoke bar. We had split up for a bit, and I was walking back somewhere, and this dude seemed like super friendly, and he was coming up to me. And asking me something. I don't remember what it was, but it was non-threatening at all. And but I'm just like, you and I, like, we was in an area where like there was like no one around, and I'm like, why me? Right. And I'm like, yeah, you seem friendly, and what you're asking me is not that threatening, but the setting is wrong. The setting is not right for me this is not where I make friends. So right. I kind of just full on ghosted them and just like walked past them and sort of just said, like, I don't even remember what I said, but essentially, just kept moving essentially. And I'm like, I don't care how friendly your question is. This is not the place, like, and how unthreatening you seem to me. This is not the place that I'm going to be making friends. Like, it's just the setting is off, even if the other parts of the equation seem okay.
But see, Jared, you did something that's really important when it comes to travel, which is really being able to read and kind of filter your surroundings, right?
Yeah, it was also like 3 a.m. too.
Right.
It's like, I'm not going anywhere else anyway, so like, yeah, for sure.
And the nighttime tends to be, I think, when a lot of travelers will get in trouble because they've been drinking, they've been having a good time, your guard is down.
And I feel like I have heard stories of tourists, I'm not even talking about just Americans, but just tourists in general that have like made friends with locals and like partied with locals, and then next thing they know, they wake up in the morning and all their shit is gone or something like that. Like that's a pretty common story, and it usually starts with like, he was so, or he or she was so friendly. We were partying together for hours, and we got to know each other, and then you wake, the next thing you know, you black out and wake up in squalor in your empty hotel room or whatever. So. Here's a question for you, Chad. Speaking of hotels, do you use hotel safes?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It really depends on the country. Depends on. There's a lot of factors. A lot of times, though. See, that's the other tricky thing, Jared. Is that a lot of times when I'm traveling internationally, once I check into the hotel, I will a lot of times store my passport either in the hotel safe or somewhere in my belongings where, you'd have to really, you basically would have to steal my stuff in order to get my, like just take my bags in order to get my passport. Which at that point, we have other concerns too, not just that my passport's gone,
Sure.
But yeah, I don't always use them because, I don't know, sometimes.
I'm no safe expert. But those hotel safes, I always feel like if anyone were to want to steal this safe, they would know exactly how to open it, because hotel safes are by no means the most complex safes out there. It's really only protecting you against like the pettiest of crimes, And then I think, did you hear that?
I did.
Okay,
you're good.
Do not disturb. Yeah, it's like the pettiest of crimes, and I just I'm the same way with you. Sometimes I will use them, but sometimes even when I use them, I'm like, what does this really protect? Like, it really almost feels like a placebo effect to me sometimes.
Sure.
Or it's like, I guess it makes me feel better. But like
one thing
go ahead.
regarding
Yeah.
the hotel safes as well, Jared, is when possible, choose a hotel that's actually legit reputable hotel. Like some people will
Check
book these
reviews,
super
for sure.
cheap. Exactly. Because a lot of people will stay somewhere and they're like, oh, well, it's only $5 for one night. Of course I'm going to stay there. It's super cheap. And it's like, well, no, sometimes you get what you pay for.
Right. There's a reason why. And reviews reviews are plentiful. So if you're going to any place that has like, below 4-star reviews or whatever, or like 0 reviews or like 2 reviews that are both 5 stars and it said loved it, probably like it's just not worth it, because the internet, even in like places that one would consider quite remote, there are probably still reputable, meaning like rated places to stay in these places, unless you go like fully off the grid somehow.
Now, speaking of reputable hotels, the other advantage with reputable hotels over like an Airbnb, I have also heard some stories of people, not to scare you out of Latin America here, Jared, but I have heard stories of people. This was actually
Chad, you can just tell me you don't want to
specific.
go with me. If you don't want to go, you can just
I do want to go.
say it. Because now you're giving all these reasons why we shouldn't go to Colombia. There's another Colombia story.
So here's the other Colombia
Okay.
story, Jared.
Where's this one
This
at?
person stayed, I don't remember, but
Okay.
this person stayed at an Airbnb. I think it was actually in Bogota.
Of course.
The capital city. And they were staying at an Airbnb, which seemed legit because, they had security there. They had all this stuff. But here's the thing. With a lot of these types of scams, even the security guards, the doormen, they might be in on the scam as well. So you can't just assume staying at like a private Airbnb is always a safe idea. That's why, like, if you have a reputable hotel, I mean, sure, in theory, those people could also be corrupt too. But a lot of times, if it's a very reputable hotel and there are reviews there, I mean, if somebody got scammed, they would have posted it in theory.
Yeah, and also it's not always just about getting robbed or murdered. Well, I remember back in college, we stayed at a hostel in Chicago, and we were told that there used to be a big problem with like bed bugs in hostels, but that problem has essentially gone away since internet has become more popular, because reviews are so powerful these days that you can't get away with stuff like that. At least this was the Chicago hostel scene is what he was talking about. But I imagine that's the case on a global scale in general, where it's like there's a lot less you can get away with because people are a lot more likely to find out. So that's why ratings are not hard to find no matter where you are, and they go a long way.
And you also bring up a really good point, Jared, with the talking about bed bugs and stuff. When we talk about traveling safely, we don't just mean avoiding
Getting
like,
robbed.
serious catastrophes, but also your mental health and safety too. Like if you have a safe place to sleep at night where you don't have to worry about getting eaten up by bed bugs, will give you a ton of peace of mind. And let's be honest, why do most people travel? Because they want to get away from the hustle and bustle and have some peace of mind and be able to relax for a little while.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
For sure. How much money do you carry on you? Cash money.
So it's always good to have a small amount of cash on you for emergencies, whether that be you need to get a cab back to your hotel, maybe you've been out longer and you're starving. There could be all sorts of reasons why.
And if you get robbed, you don't want to have nothing on you.
Right.
You want to be able to. I just need to make sure we really go back to the base of this episode, avoiding getting robbed. In my mind, it's better to have some money on you than zero.
Right. So I'll tell you. So when I was living in China, I would keep 200 RMB on me at all times. Let me see how much that costs.
That's like $30, isn't it?
I think so, somewhere around there. Yeah. Let's see here. So that's usually when I was in China, I kept usually around 200 RMB, which comes out to $31.
Damn.
So yes,
but that goes a lot further in
Right.
China than it might go in, than
Right.
30 euro might go in, I don't know, Denmark.
Now, granted, in China's a little different as well because you can use your cell phone to pay for a lot of
Right.
stuff too.
Most people don't even take cash. They're like, what is this?
Right. So I would keep cash on me. But the other thing is your other kind of cash outlet is keep a portable power bank, a charger on you. Because if your phone dies and that's your emergency money outlet and your phone dies, then you don't have any money anymore.
Yeah, and you don't have access to anything like rides or
Exactly.
or anything.
Exactly. And even with they have a lot of charging banks in China that you can rent, but a lot of those, your phone needs to have power in order for you to log in and do all that stuff to unlock it. So once again, you still need that. In the U.S., I keep $20 in my wallet at all times, just because you never know.
Sure.
You never know.
My mom used to, well, she still would say it, but she says that not having any money on you is bad luck.
Oh, interesting.
So,
okay, I've never heard that.
I don't always have money on me, but certainly since the pandemic, I've made a point to have some more cash on me than I normally would.
Yeah, it's smart. And I will say one tip that I've read in terms of if you are ever robbed, what they say you should do is you should toss your wallet in one direction and run in the other direction. Is what they say.
That really highlights how dumb they think robbers are. Ooh, money. Hey, where did the person go?
Well, no, the reason why is because most of the time they are only after your money.
Yeah, for sure.
So they run after your wallet.
That's I think another important thing to mention. I feel like for the most part, people that are robbing you are probably not interested in murder. Like that's a whole nother level of crime than taking someone's wallet. And so, like, I don't know. I also feel like people aren't as quick to jump to some sort of physical assault or murder as maybe, I'm not going to say you, but sure, yeah, I'll say you. That's probably who I'm thinking. Yeah, but I agree with you. You should probably carry some money on you. I have another question for you. What about keeping a copy of your passport or license?
Yep. I don't have a copy of my license, which I probably should. But when I do travel, I keep a copy of my.
Is it color copy of your passport?
When I was in China last, I had 3 colored copies actually.
At how many copies does it start to get suspicious?
Well, the reason why I had 3, Jared, was there was actually a couple.
Do you laminate them?
Other. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I had some friends who did. The reason why I didn't laminate them is so I could fold them, and so I could fold it up and put it in my wallet.
Laminating it almost makes it seem a little shadier. Because to me, then what are you trying to pass this off as? At that point, it almost feels like you're trying to pass it off as real ID.
Right. Yeah. With passports, I mean, you certainly have to be careful. It's always good, I think, to have a copy of it, in case something bad were to ever happen.
What would you do? So if you were to, is that just make it a lot easier if you lose your passport to get a new one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Because you can just give the embassy all of that. They have your passport number.
numbers.
They have everything.
Okay.
I used to have my passport number memorized. Fun fact.
How many numbers? Isn't that a good amount of numbers?
No, it's only 6 or 7.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was thinking, isn't there numbers
I think it's 8
like
numbers?
at the bottom where they swipe it?
Where they swipe it, probably.
But that's not the passport. That's like okay, that's like a barcode kind of thing.
The only reason why I have that memorized, Jared, was I had to write my passport number so many times. No, I had to write my passport number on everything. When you're in China, you do any traveling, every hotel, you have to write your passport number.
Dude, I would put fake numbers if I were you.
You can't.
Why not?
Then you're not gonna, because it won't match.
Match what? Do they then look
register
at your passport?
you. Yeah, they register you with the foreign police or with the local police office there.
Dude, I would totally get arrested in China. I can't tell you how many.
Bro, you would be fucked in China.
I can't tell you how many hotels I've gone to given the wrong numbers, wrong addresses. Like I do that shit.
Oh, you would be
all
screwed.
The time. I hate just giving out my address and phone number, especially my phone number. I'll lie about my phone number in a heartbeat. Dude, I went to the dealership to get my car serviced a couple of weeks ago, and they asked for my address. And in my head, I'm like, why do you need my address? Just fix my car and I'll pay you for it. And so what I did was I gave him
my address?
I gave him, yeah. And I gave him your phone number.
My address on everything.
No, I gave him my right address begrudgingly. He said it back to me completely wrong. And I was just like, yep, that's right.
That's hilarious.
And they fixed my car. I paid them, and I was like, "Why did you need my address for that?" I don't understand. I'm giving my address, a fake address in a heartbeat. But yeah, I clearly would have been arrested in China at some point, and so it's good to know.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other reason why a lot of countries make you register with the police stations, like I know when we lived in Austria, we had to register with the police station saying we were living there. Or well, it wasn't the police station; it was some special office. But regardless, the point is still the same. The reason why they do that for you, Jared, is if anything were to go wrong, they know where at least to start looking, and all of that stuff.
Sure, that makes sense. I understand. I certainly understand. I think just my American brain hates the idea of of just that, like, everywhere you go, not only do you have to give you just have to give every bit of information to every place you go. Is certainly I mean, the thing is, we do it here in America too. I don't know why Americans claim to be so against it, because as I mentioned, I'm always being asked for my address in places where I think it's completely useless. So,
right.
I don't know. I certainly understand why they would do it. Honestly, and I don't want to make it seem like I would lie in China, because I would also recognize if I get caught here in the U.S. lying about my address at a dealership for my car, nothing will happen to me. But if I don't know, if I get lost in Beijing and I've lied about it, that's a whole different issue for sure. Do you have any sort of specific, and maybe you don't, this is not even part of your wardrobe or what you own. Do you have any sort of specific clothing that you certainly won't pack or take with you because of the flashiness or brand?
So, well, my wardrobe, Jared. There's nothing in my wardrobe
Right.
that's super flashy, or I don't have like big name brand clothes. But I do still try to be mindful of what I'm going to be wearing in whatever place I'm going to be at, because I think, like, certainly, especially if you go even South America. Sorry to any of our listeners in South America. We're not trying to shit on your continent today here. Well, like
Listen,
a friend of mine told me.
I'm saying I want to go there, and you keep trying to find reasons why I shouldn't. Don't say we. I find
Okay, fair enough.
I find
I
Colombia to be a
apologize.
beautiful country, and I hope to one
I
day visit it and
apologize.
enjoy the cultures.
I do too. But anyways, one of my friends had told me, at least in Mexico, I think he said, like, if you wear like a Polo Ralph Lauren type of shirt, like, people automatically just assume you're like rich and you've got a lot of money. So,
they're
and
pricey.
a lot of my teaching stuff is Ralph Lauren. But I did take that with me to the Czech Republic and China. But I was wearing that at work. But I don't know. I mean, to me, none of the stuff that I wear is going to be flashy enough or expensive enough to really catch somebody's eye. I don't think. But yeah,
The big thing for me is I like to travel with a watch. Like, especially when you're going to different time zones. So what I do is I have two watches that I'll travel with. One is a Casio, a digital, like, just like you couldn't get more basic of a digital Casio watch. And then I also have a Seiko 5, which is like a relatively small, just like super simple automatic, like a analog watch. And and there are two watches where if I were to lose them, I could replace them for $20 to $50. And they also attract almost no attention, because you can get them from your local CVS. And so that is my go-to. I also think, for some reason, something about, for me, especially when I'm traveling to foreign lands, there is some sort of safety. And this is purely placebo. Like, I can't even really explain it. But I do attribute some level of safety to having, like, a watch and just having, like, time not connected to my phone.
yeah, I think that's a really smart tip. The other point I want to mention too, Jared, is you made a really good point about the fact that they're cheap and replaceable. I would not recommend, like, when I went to China and when I went to the Czech Republic, I was very careful with what stuff I brought with me, because the way I look at it, when you travel, you should bring things with you that if there was a crazy emergency. I mean, with COVID and everything, we've seen that the world is a crazy place. With any crazy emergency, you could leave, and you could leave whatever stuff behind, and
Jason
it wouldn't
Bourne
be
style.
Exactly, and it wouldn't be a huge. But here's the other thing too, Jared. With bringing a lot of stuff with sentimental value, number one, if something bad were to happen, you might do something irrational to try to go back or get that back, right?
I have a certain set of skills.
Like I had a friend who was robbed in Vietnam, and I don't think she would have been robbed if she would have had just didn't have the same amount of stuff with her.
She was because traveling while she had like travel stuff with her.
Her hands were full. She had 2 bags in her hands, and what they did, this was, I believe, in Vietnam. What they did was they drove by on a scooter, cut the bag, cut the handle of whatever bag she had in her, I think her right hand. And they grabbed it.
Sort of a dangerous move. You got to be pretty accurate with those cuts. I mean, I guess they're not too concerned about potentially cutting the victim, but they've also probably done it 1,000 times. So, I mean, but that's a tough one too when you're traveling. And did she live there for an extended period of time or something?
No. It was a short trip.
Okay, so it could have been avoided, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
yeah,
that's true. Certainly, traveling light is key. Honestly, that's actually, I mentioned recently that I'm a fan of like duffel bags and stuff, and because of when you're traveling, they're very easy to stuff into places. But if you're going to be traveling and holding travel gear out in public, that might be a point for the rollers. First of all, a lot harder to steal, a lot easier to run with. They're not slowing you down as much. But they do maybe attract a little bit more attention. Not that duffel bags don't attract attention, though, because it's not often that you see people just walking around with duffel bags down the street either.
Right. Well, it's also different, though, too, because with a duffel bag, you could hold it in a way where it would be more difficult to take. Whereas, if you have a...
How would they take the roller?
Never mind.
You can't.
No, you're right.
It's pretty strong. Like the pulley thing is pretty strongly connected to the
right. They'd have
suitcase.
To break that.
Yeah, and that's
you're
that
right.
would take some doing. Like, what are they? Unless they come with some sort of little saw, and there's like.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past some people out there. I mean,
but so I would actually say that might be a point in the roller bag if you're forced to be carrying travel gear in a conspicuous fashion. Inconspicuous fashion. I mean, that's the word I'm looking for. Inconspicuous means obvious. No, conspicuous is obvious.
Yeah,
in a conspicuous fashion.
Yeah.
That's all I got, Chad. That's what I'm concerned about when it comes to travel. I gave you everything I'm concerned about.
Well, let me give a couple other tips here. So, when possible, try to know or get to know your surroundings. Because that can help a lot. Like if you are in any type of situation where you might be worried or stressed, actually having an idea of where you are and where you need to go can really help you out.
Yes, for sure. Here's one that I just thought of. A couple places I've been to, this was key. Know the status of the water, tap water.
Yes. That's a big one. Very good, Jared.
And anyone that's traveled at least a little bit knows at least one person that's found themselves in a terrible bathroom situation because they got careless and found themselves drinking a glass of water.
It's not that difficult to do, especially
their toothpaste or whatever.
Exactly. That's a really good one. I would say to add on to that one, Jared, would also be careful with food, depending on where you're going. I mean, your stomach may not be accustomed to the herbs and spices, sometimes even the bacteria. I know it sounds gross, but it's true. Some of the bacteria they find on some of the street foods and stuff.
When I was in Tanzania, they had this banana quote-unquote beer that they would drink, and we had he wasn't a tour guide, he was like a driver. Oh no, he wasn't a tour guide, it was someone that's like showed us around like this little small village we were in, like sort of the the downtown area or whatever. And we went into this little bar, and the guy made it expressly clear, you do not, they'll offer you this, and you'll see them drinking and having a good time. Do not drink that. He's like, that will destroy your stomachs, and you'll be on the toilet for the next couple days if you drink that. And it looked like a potion, it was a little bubbly it wasn't like a consistent bubble like a beer like we know it here in the United States. It looked like something that would F up your stomach, to be honest with you. And so that was certainly one. When my mom was my mom has spent a lot of time in China when previous jobs that she had, and I remember her saying that they had people that would that like when they would be going around town or whatever with people that they worked with from China, there would be certain people that would just go around like pointing at certain outdoor eating establishments or restaurants like, you can't eat there, don't eat there, don't eat there, that one's fine. But that goes back to one of your earlier points that you mentioned is like knowing locals, because it's not even, it wasn't even that quote unquote street food was bad just as a blanket term. It was more just like, know the vendors you're going. You got to know the vendors you're going to. So it's not that we're telling you don't eat street food. It's just like, we'd recommend, like, wait, listen, we know this vendor,
be reputable,
and we recommend that you don't eat there.
Right. Well, the other thing too, Jared, and I'm having flashbacks now from my time in China, there were a lot of days and nights where I would walk and look at places and not be sure, should I eat here, should I not? You know, what's going to happen if I eat here? And the best rule of thumb, if you don't have those types of guides or people locals to really tell you, is a lot of time, not always, but a lot of times if the places are more crowded, generally speaking, at least in China, that's kind of a good rule of thumb. If there's nobody eating there during a time when people should be eating there, if the locals don't trust it, you better believe that your foreign ass should not be eating any of this.
When I was in Tanzania as well, I just thought about this. We started in Dar es Salaam, which is the capital city. I believe it's the capital city. If it's not, it's a major city. And we drove to Mbaya, which is this tiny village that was hours and hours away. It took like all day to get there. And we stopped at this city, this little village out in the middle of nowhere, and they had this local restaurant. And my personal rule of thumb, I don't know what the rule was that the driver made it clear that the food was fine, you can eat whatever you want. This was about probably less than halfway through the journey in this van through essentially the middle of nowhere. So I was hyper aware of my bowel situation because I saw a couple of the bathroom options on that trip, and that was not happening. And so my personal rule that I gave myself was that I thought I would be safe, and I was safe, by the way. Nothing bad happened. I figured I would be safe if I avoided the meat. So I had rice, I had, the vegetables that they had, but I avoided the meat, and it worked for me. So, listen, there's no real science behind that, but if you have to eat something, I would say the meat might be the last resort.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Nothing can go wrong with rice. There's no way rice can be messed up. Unless, I don't know, they sneezed in it a bunch of times. And vegetables, right. I mean, the vegetables are honestly better than the vegetables we have in the U.S. because they're probably just grown out there. So,
right. Vegetables, it depends on the country, though, Jared, because I do know in China, you sometimes have to be careful with fruits and veggies because they can put other... Like, I've heard stories of, like, some places, nowhere where I went, but I've heard stories of places that will, like, spray paint the fruits or vegetables to make them look more tasty.
See, but I feel like I hear you. I could definitely imagine that. They do that in the U.S. too. I've heard that they do that in the U.S. with a lot of foods. The thing that would not make me concerned about that where I was is it was so remote. Where it's like, what? I don't even see the benefit of doing that. Like who is that for?
Right.
So, but that definitely is something that happens in the U.S. too, where they certainly have ways of artificially like pumping up the color of fruits and vegetables to more sort of aggressive hues than you'd get if you just grew them naturally.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think what might be kind of fun for today's episode, Jared, since we've talked about a lot of these, if we could maybe kind of recap today by coming up with like the untranslatable checklist for safe travel. I think that could be a fun way to end today's episode. So I'll start us off. One of the first things on my checklist, Jared, when possible, for safe travel is to travel light, as you mentioned, because the less things you have to bog you down, you can get yourself just out of certain situations if you need to by traveling light. So that would be like the first thing on my checklist would be bring the bare necessities. Don't overpack, travel light. If you can carry everything on your own, that's also ideal. Like when you have to be dependent on someone else to help you carry stuff, that can also put you in positions where it might be uncomfortable or unsafe. So that's my first one.
My next one is, I guess it's 1.5, I will say. Do your research and have a plan.
Definitely.
That's my
I would add to that with another tip on our untranslatable safe travel checklist would be, if possible, if you know any locals, or a friend of a friend knows a local, like use your network, use your friends, your family. Say, hey, I'm going on this trip to this place. Do I know anybody who lives there? Do I have a friend of a friend? Because that can be a much safer way to see places. Then you can get some really good local recommendations as well. I mean, there's so many benefits to knowing someone there.
Oh, is it my turn now?
It is, yeah.
I'll say, that's another one. Hold on. Let me go back to my list. Now I got to think about it. Well, I kind of already did that. I was going to say, well, I'll do a different one. Don't get wasted. That's my rule.
Yep. Or if you do get wasted, make sure
Have
you're
a
in
buddy,
company of trustworthy people. Nothing wrong with enjoying some of the beverages of what place you visit, but definitely be careful. I would also say, Jared, to be honest with you, I just wouldn't risk, if you're into doing drugs and if that's your thing, I would not recommend ever doing that when you travel.
Listen, Chad, us saying do or don't do drugs is not going to stop or
true.
Someone's not going to be like, oh, maybe that is a bad idea.
That's true.
If they had plans on doing drugs in a foreign country, your little PSA is not going to stop them.
That's a good point. But I feel like that can be, some of probably the most sketchiest situations. I would think.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about just a slight handful of the sketchy people that just have walked up to us in the streets offering us all variety of drugs.
Exactly.
And it's just like, just keep it moving is always I don't know, just the idea of trusting a drug dealer that just meets, even if you do want to partake in drugs, the idea of meeting a drug dealer that just approaches you on the street in like Prague or Berlin or like some, bustling city, that's not the drug dealer you want to go with, even if you actually do have like serious intentions of buying these drugs. So I think that is my recommendation. I'm not telling you to buy drugs or not to buy drugs, but I'm saying if you're going to, you're never trusting the random stranger that walks up to you on the street just like soliciting it is never going to be the best choice for you. That's
for sure.
100%.
For sure.
Meet locals. That's a better way to do it. And organically.
My last travel safety tip, and I do mean last, Jared, before you get on my case here. My last one is know how you are perceived in the culture which you are traveling in. What I mean by this is, if you are I'm going to talk to all my white boys here. If you're a white boy walking around in certain areas in Southeast Asia, in South America, they might just assume you're that rich, wealthy white person. So be very careful. Also though, if you're black, the way people could perceive you could also be different.
Yeah, so be careful when traveling to the United States.
Right. No kidding. But yeah, I just think it's really important to have a solid understanding of the way locals and people in that culture view you, because that can really help you figure out how to navigate and move in that country.
You could certainly find yourself in the middle of some sort of like cultural hatred that you didn't realize you had part of. You had part in, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize. I didn't. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Honestly, dude, that is kind of why I'm nervous to visit some Asian countries is because I already know how much of a spectacle the white people are. I would be so angry at just like strangers walking up to me, taking pictures with me, trying to touch my hair and stuff like that. It would ruin a trip for me.
Sure.
And so that's certainly something that kind of turns me off about that, is just constantly hearing about how much foreigners are stared at and sort of looked at as like characters or whatever.
Right. Well, Jared, one tip for you, though, is if you go to a country where they have a lot of international tourists, you're not going to be, like, for example, in Bali, I saw a lot of black people in Bali, and it didn't really seem like the Indonesians, you know what I mean? It wasn't like when I saw black people in China. Now, granted, when I saw black people in China, when I saw black people in Beijing, no one really batted an eye. But the couple times I saw black people in Jinan, especially out where I lived, which was more in the sticks, holy shit, man. You should have just seen the amount of people just stopping and turning. And they are not very good at making it nonchalant.
Did you make a point not to even pay attention to him just because you thought you might be doing him a favor? That's what I feel like.
No,
I feel like I'd be doing you a favor. I'm the only Westerner here that could even relate to you, but I'm doing you a favor by completely ignoring you.
No, the funny thing is, Jared, is we would always give each other, regardless if it was a guy or a girl,
a nod.
We would kind of give each other the head nod, like okay, I see you, other foreigner here in China.
You've got a little bit of what it feels like to be black in America.
I guess so.
Giving out the universal, because black people definitely give out random head nods to each other. I've given many a head nod to a random black, especially in a situation where you're fully surrounded by white people, like at an office or something. I certainly, in my last job, there were not a lot of black people. I would certainly, one of the guys, I never talked to this guy, but every time we would be like, "How you doing?" Or like give him a nod.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Yeah, so I mean, those are our safety tips for today.
All right. You feel satisfied, Chad? You got through all of the safety tips that really are pressing in your mind?
I mean, we could probably do a part 2 at some point later, but the most important ones, I mean,
all right.
Absolutely. So let us know, though, if you have any other travel safety tips. You can hit us up at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on Instagram and YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast, and also on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. And please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania. I will say, though, Jared, we've both been lucky where we haven't been in any super terrible travel predicaments. But I think some of that is because you and I, it's not like we're rookie travelers. We've been to some different countries. We kind of know, at least I'm always a little bit on guard when I travel. And I didn't mention this during the episode. Maybe I should have. But in certain places, like especially big cities, I try to walk around with a scowl on my face. And you know me, I'm a pretty smiley, positive guy. So it's not easy to walk around with like a I'm gonna punch you in the face if you talk to me kind of look.
I don't know if I've gotten that look down, but I've certainly gotten just because it's true, I've gotten the I don't want to talk to you look down on my face. Like, I'm very good at not making eye contact with people, almost pretending they don't exist. These are all talents I feel like I already possess. So that is something that I think use to an extra degree when I'm in those heightened situations, for sure.
When I use that face the most, now thinking back,
what's that?
Was walking home a lot of times from the bars in the Czech Republic when it was late, just because, like, especially in Chomutov, there were a lot of drunk people, and drunk people are unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to do or what they're going to try. And so that was when I would quicken my pace, eyes forward, and if they would make eye contact, you give them a look. Like,
walking with purpose is key, because to me, that
you're the king of walking with purpose.
To me, but I'm talking about when you're walking late at night home from a bar. Because I think, to me, I'm always like, if I walk with purpose, then I won't look like I'm drunk. Like, even if I am drunk, it's like the more with quote unquote with purpose I walk, the less stumbly I get. Almost like if I were to be hammered and I'm walking, I would just be all over the place. But the more I start to jog and then run, it's just like. So it's certainly move with purpose is what I'm saying. So there's another tip right there. There's the last one.
There we go.
But yeah,
sure.
no, that's something that I employ even when I'm not traveling, just when I don't like being talked to all the time.